All right, guys, welcome to the new unit impressions for, well, Special Heroes, Greil Devoted in February. It seems to be a Valentine's related banner from what I can tell. So that's always fun. We're going to do what we always do in these sort of things, which is look at the new units, what sort of meta implications they have from a tier 21 arena, top 100 ether raids perspective, and I will give you my point of view on whether these guys may impact the meta in whatever way possible. Also, we're going to look at any new skills that get released and weapons and cover those as well. That's what I always do, so if you're new to the channel, sit back and enjoy some high quality advice. That's the best I can do. As always, feel free to give me your thoughts on these units in the comments below after the video is done, and I will cover the analysis, unit comparison analysis, how they hold up compared to units already in the game tomorrow in tomorrow's video. Thank you so much for supporting the YouTube channel and the stream. If you guys pop into those, I know the YouTube content isn't as common as it used to be, and I promise that once I do get the luxury of more free time, I will upload more stuff. There's definitely more stuff to cover, and that covers AR matches, which can be highlighted, plus, of course, any other meta-related things that could happen. Just good quality knowledge that you guys can appreciate. So, with all that being said, though, be sure to drop into the stream if you feel like you're having some trouble, or go watch the VODs on Twitch. That link is in the description below. Let's jump into it, shall we? Celebrating a day of devotion. So you got our 3 boys and 1 girl here.
My son is a stubborn pup, but I guess I'm the one who made him that way.
Okay, so we finally got our boy Greil here, Ike's dad, Miss Dad. This was in the silhouette. Honestly, like, I'm not really good at predicting silhouettes, so this came as a big surprise to me. But he is a green axe armor, and unfortunately already I can tell you, being that unit and movement type means that he is going to have some rough competition that will likely not make him stand out compared to the others. I couldn't even tell you a stat spread that would make him unique. It would have to be some sort of Amelia type stat spread and just making it slightly better than that, where he had like high speed and high attack or something like that. That'd be the only way to make him stand out compared to the current pool of axe users. But even that likely won't compare to something like Legendary Hector, who can cheat with Under Armads and Bold Fighter, for instance. So not much going for him in terms of unit, movement type, uniqueness, but at least Dad's home, right? Okay, so he comes with ether, so at least he's ether fodder. No, he's not actually ether fodder. What you should be considering foddering him for, should you get him, would be Fury 4. Fury 4, in first impression, doesn't look like it's much of an upgrade over Fury 3. But I think that it actually is a lot better than it looks. And the reason it is because Fury 4 over Fury 3 is literally a 4 stat increase. So that's a lot of stats to get. And the recoil damage, now you would think that something like that would get removed and would be better on Fury 4. But however, I would argue that that's not actually what you want out of Fury. Fury's biggest benefit, why it's such a staple skill on so many builds, beyond it just being, you know, budget, if you can get Hinata, is because it synergizes so well with so many skills in the game already. Like, Fury Desperation is good because it synergizes with Fury Desperation. It's good with Escape Route. It's good with Vantage. It's good with Brazens in the seal slots. There's so much good that Fury does. And the extra recoil damage helps you reach those certain HP thresholds, which is really good. Wings of Mercy as well. I mean, special mention for that. So like having Fury 4, unlike a Gale Force user, and he's taking 8 recoil damage, and I can stand out here by saying that Valter would appreciate something like this because of his Curse Lance synergizing now with Fury 4. It means he'd like take 12 recoil damage. It means it'd be easier to get in Wings of Mercy range, easier to get in Escape Route range, easier to just get into anything. Fury Desperations, Vantages. So it looks like it's not much of an upgrade, but getting 4 extra stats, especially if you use all those stats, and the extra recoil damage can help you enter those HP thresholds better. Now, of course, it's not necessarily worth pulling for because it's not a significant difference from Fury 3. The extra 2 HP and the extra stats that you get from this may usually not help all that much. But if you do your calculations and check if a unit can like attack twice and enter Wings of Mercy range or escape route, that's huge. And it will be really good on those specific units. Low HP units that can double and get themselves into those HP thresholds will love this skill, especially if they couldn't do it with Fury 3 before. Okay, moving on. Warrior Fighter, Armor March, nothing really important there. Faithful Axe, this is brand new. It's kind of like an owl axe, and honestly, there's not much comparable to it in the pool because, you know, we have owl tomes, but we don't really have like melee weapons that have those owl effects. You could have like buffed others with High Goida and Lilith Floaty, and that's really useful, more useful in something like Arena. But the Owl Axe could pretty much be better if you have it on the bonus unit itself, or if you tend to build like some sort of Omega tank in AR. And I think that's where it probably gets a lot of value. So if you use like a distant counter null C disrupt unit with like a bond skill in the seal and you use this new Faithful Axe, you can create a really stat stacked unit. And I don't think there's that much better when it comes to options. I could probably use something like Slaying Axe instead with like Glimmer to get more kills. So honestly, Faithful Axe, Fury 4, good stuff, but not necessarily game breaking.
A gift.
Thanks for the gift.
I have no problem with working. I just expect to be compensated.
Is that a dress? Oh boy. He looks quite feminine here. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. What are we talking about? Right, we're talking about how he compares to other units in the game. All right, so he's a Blue Tome Cavalier unit. That is unfortunately not that useful, especially when you consider somebody like Ursula is given for free. La Rochelle is really good as a pull unit. And there's probably, oh yeah, right, Reinhardt. Come on. So, sorry, Soren. Based on those three already really common and really good units, and most people have already invested in those units, pretty much put Soren in a very difficult spot that won't make him stand out. Like, I can almost guarantee it. Along with the fact that once we check his skills and realize he doesn't have a preference weapon, someone like La Rochelle will literally just outscale him just off Evaldi or her high res, decently high attack speed. He probably has gonna have a little bit more attack or speed than that, but honestly, that unit movement type is already Reinhardt is taking it. You can't take it from him.
For it.
Alrighty, so we got so this is where it's different from Faithful Axe, where we already have Blaral, and it's in a 3-star pool as it is, 3 and 4-star pool in May. So Blar Blooms isn't necessarily a better option than Blaral being there, because it gives 3 to all stats, and that's pretty good if you have 1 unit beside you. But if you have 2 units beside you, then it's going to just be a better option to have Blaral. So if you're supporting a unit, giving them a bunch of stats, like Blaral just ends up better. Therefore, this weapon isn't really better in a lot of cases. It's just like an alternative choice. Therefore, you really shouldn't fodder it for that, and you should consider what else he has, which is the Rally Bus, which is a good one, found on Age Rift Female Corn before this. Attack Res Bond, which is in the Grail pool on Winter Cecilia, so you don't necessarily need that. Speed Feint is pretty good. It's probably one of the better feints, but it's more useful in Arena and not necessarily in AR, because you need mobility skills in AR. And Arena, well, you should, everyone should use rallies. So Speed Feint is decent there, but not necessarily needed. I don't really think it's a must-have skill in any shape or form. Res Opening, though, and this one is new and definitely considered interesting in my point of view, especially if you combine it with the Attack Opening, which was recently released, and the Joyous Lantern that Winter Erica have. So if you end up having a bunch of units with these opening skills and Joyous Lantern, and especially if you have units that have the same attack stat, you can really easily buff up these units every single turn without positional requirements, and you can like dump them in a corner, and that's a really interesting way to play because you don't have to rely on positioning. You got a bunch of buffs, and if you just create team comps around this sort of thing, there's a lot of potential to be had there. But that's the thing, it's difficult to set up, and even with the merge update coming up soon, like, are you really going to be pulling or having all these skills just to try to buff one unit, when sometimes maybe Hone Flyers will get the job done, or Hone Armor, or whatever type of movement you're using, and it's just like that. You don't have to like juggle attack stats, seals, and whatnot just to reach certain thresholds. I don't know. If anything, the most appealing skill here is going to be Rally Attack plus Speed. Nice flowers, Soren.
The mercenary group has a lot of expenses. That makes shopping for everyone pretty difficult.
Okay. All right, so Mist is here. Omega Mist. Mist is a green cav unit. Now, similarly to Reinhardt controlling the blue cav area, the most invested in common green tome cav that people have is Cecilia. And honestly, she is pretty good, especially when you consider she still has the highest defense of all the green tome cavalry units, which is good, especially if you use her as TA Raven. TA Raven wants to be reducing their damage, so that still is a kind of unique thing. The way, like, that literally makes Mist, the only way that would make her unique here is to have more defense than Cecilia. But then most people already have an invested Cecilia or tons of copies of her, where merges are going to totally outweigh Mist's relevance here. Mist is pretty much here to kind of say, hey, LA Hector and LA Lilina were here last year. Here's dad and daughter again. And this is Greil and Mist. That's like that feels like the sort of immersion we're getting here. Mist is likely not going to be that useful. And if you consider that the best green tome cav in the 5-star exclusive pool is Owen and should remain Owen because Thunderhead is so good, there is not much potential for Mist here. And as you can see, that's actually the case. So Swift Sparrow, again, I don't know why this skill keeps showing up. It's now officially in the Greil pool. Why do people want this? It's pretty much implying that she's probably going to be speedy and have high attack and maybe a high res stat, because that's what Mist is generally known for. So I don't think she'll have a high defense stat. G-Tone Valor is whatever. Res Feint is new, and again, it's interesting, but it's not necessarily game breaking in any way, because most of your bonus units will be physical damage dealers, like the Asker Trio. And if you just look at them, like most bonus units tend to be physical. So Res Feint is even less value than something like Speed Feint in most cases. And I think honestly, Defense Feint and Attack Feint are going to be like the best ones when it comes to using feint scales, if you don't already just use chills. So whatever. Rally Defense Res Plus is the only thing that kind of makes her interesting. But if you already have Rally Attack up or Rally Attack Speed Plus, like, you don't really need it because you already have skills which give you scoring. So I think, honestly, Mist is going to be kind of like a disappointing unit to have, considering what options we already have. I wanted to mention, because this should be pretty obvious, but she has the same weapon as Soren did, and that's Greil, which is on Bowie. So again, same situation. That weapon that she has isn't necessarily better than Greil or the Owl Tomes. It's just like a side grade.
Thinking about training with my father gets my blood pumping.
Okay, Ike. So that's actually a pretty cool outfit. I think this one looks pretty awesome. He's a red sword armor, and honestly, compared to Greil, that's not that much of a common movement unit type class. So there is potential for Ike to be unique. However, he's competing with the Black Knight, Zelgius, Zephiel, Arden, and special mention Drog. And all of those units in their own way are actually quite strong or unique, especially when you consider that Zelgius has Alondite and Warp Powder and Black Luna, and Zephiel has Exax, which is really good, a really good stat spread. And of course, Arden is like the most min-max unit in the game. So even though there's not that many red sword armors, and a lot of them are really high availability, I think it's hard to put Ike in a place, but if he was to be somewhere, he'd probably be high attack, high speed, and he has to have a lot of those to kind of just outpace somebody like Zelgius and Black Knight. But even so, he doesn't have the preference weapon, and he doesn't have the Black Luna. So in terms of offensive prowess, he's still not going to be the optimal choice. And on top of that, he's a red unit in a 4-unit pool. So getting merges on someone that brand new like this on a seasonal versus Zelgius, who's been in the permanent pool for over a year, has given Ike a pretty grim chance of being competitive. However, he does have a good weapon to fodder off, like I mentioned with Faithful Axe before. This is a good weapon because there's nothing comparable in terms of like an owl sword or owl tomes or owl axes. So this is really good if you're trying to do some stat stacking. And he does have his preference special, which is Radiant Ether found on Legendary Ike previously. So he'll be really good to use with breath skills, his special fighter that's innate. Even Speedwave implies he's pretty fast, and it'll synergize well with his base kit. He's pretty much good to go out of the kit, but again, he's not really going to be comparable to Zelgius just because Black Luna is so much more damage. Like, there's just not something comparable to that. In terms of fodder, of course, he has good fodder, but he's not easy to get. Any of my mathematics that you've looked at in comparison unit analysis videos, you know right away what I mean by this is red is the hardest to pull in a 4-person banner, especially. You're looking at 200 orbs like average, and then up to 400 to 420, 410 for like 1 in 10 people to get Ike. So if you're going for distant counter here, or even special fighter, you gotta have a pretty fat wallet or a fat amount of orbs already ready at the go. Especially if you're going for like Heart's Blade, distant counter, special fighters, all those things. Like, it's gonna be really hard to get a copy of Ike if you're going for fodder. And that's why you probably shouldn't, because of that specific reason. Like, Brave Ephraim likely will show up on a 3-person banner, maybe even a 2-person banner, we don't know. So, or even Hero Fest, like the other Brave units technically have been there before too. So, you know, like if you're pulling for that, no, like this encounter again could show up. The only real reason to pull for fodder would be Heart's Blade. And is it really worth it when you have pretty good options as it is with swords, like Safeguard, Barrier Blades? Yeah, there's already kind of pretty good stuff there for stat stacking. So we'll see tomorrow what Ike might bring to the table.
Don't bother thanking me.
As always, we got our contracts. And our free unit, pretty much confirmed, is Titania here as a Red Tome Cavalier unit. Based on what we've already seen with the blue and green, we're going to just assume that her weapon is going to be the same as Mist and Soren. I could be wrong, but it's probably going to be like a similar owl version where you just need one ally beside for a bunch of stats. So that'll be pretty good because Roar Owl is harder to get than the other owl tomes. So that one will be more exclusive. Also, we kind of want to figure out what fodder she has, so stay tuned for that. As for that unit class movement type, it's actually a little bit better than blue and green since the only Red Tome Cavalier units are Leo and S America, both 5-star exclusives. And S America is really good, but uncommon. And Leo is, well, he's Leo. So Titania has some potential to be good. We'll look at her tomorrow. Okay, so the banner does last a full month, which does mean that the smartest idea, as it always has been when it comes to these sort of banners, is patience. Exercise some patience, and you will likely be able to make better decisions with your orbs. So the reason you save orbs and don't pull on day one is because it overlaps with other banners. It overlaps with the legendary banner that's going to show up at the end of February, which could have good fodder as well. Halloween units could be coming back. We're going to finish up with Hoshid and Micaiah, close counter on Hoshid and Xander as well. So those are some really good things already that are likely to show up at the legendary banner at the end. Plus, we may get new heroes, and you may get a glimpse of anything new with the updates that could happen near the end of that. So that's why you generally should just wait. The units themselves aren't really necessarily worth pulling for. There's no crazy new skills here. Fury 4 is good and specific characters, I'd say. And yeah, I mean, the fodder is amazing on Ike, but since he's red and a 4-person banner, like, you know, good luck. It's not really going to be something you're going to see a lot of copies of. The units are cool. I love Path of Radiance. It's my favorite game in the Fire Emblem series, and Radiant Dawn is number 2. So I have a lot of fondness for something like this. But again, I got to give you guys the straight up answers. And as always, you probably want to just wait it out and see, like, do you really need or want these units, and how do they actually help you? Plus, are you ready to make a commitment and spending so many resources? With all that being said, we'll take a look at the unit analysis comparisons tomorrow. Look forward to that. Let me know what you think of these units in the comments below. Maybe some builds or ideas that I may have missed. Feel free to let me know. I'll check them out. I do read your comments. I don't respond to everybody, but I do read them. Thank you so much for getting engaged in that. If you guys love the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Much love. Peace.